Okay, so hello and welcome to another interview with the developer. This time we have Feili from Rocket Juice Games. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah,
How about you?
yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for joining us. And
Thank
you
you.
have a game in early access at the moment, is that right?
Yes.
It's called Neon Tail.
Yes, absolutely.
Could you give us a bit of some info about Neon Tail?
Yeah, sure. So Neon Tail is an open world roller skating game where you follow the adventures of a young woman who's trying to become a superstar in the virtual sport game in my game's world. Things goes awry when creatures from other dimensions start to invade, and somehow she gets superpowers and becomes the only one who can, based on players' decisions, stop the invasion or not, save the city, basically.
Okay.
So yeah.
So the core game is kind of all about rollerblading, yeah?
Yes, um, more or less. Well, Neon Tail, before being a game about roller skating, it's a game about an adventure with open world activities. People often compare my game with Jet Set Radio, and that's obviously visually it's very reminding Jet Set Radio, of course. And while Jet Set Radio have conditions, winning conditions that are based on a timer that serves a score system, Neon Tail, there's a lot of layers, one over the other. Yeah, there's an adventure that you're following. There's a RPG sides. There's NPCs with their own stories. There are drone system. There are superpowers. They're fighting. So yeah, I would say that Neon Tail has its own uniqueness in many ways that goes beyond just being a rollerblade game.
Yeah.
At the
Well,
core. Yeah.
sure. That actually answers the next question I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going everywhere. I'm
No,
sorry.
it doesn't matter. It's fine. So you did, of course, say in one of your developer logs, which I've been watching on YouTube, which are really great, by the way. Always
Oh,
a
thank
fan
you.
of developers that put out logs and keep people updated about their game. Jet Set Radio is an influence on you, yeah?
Yes, yes.
However, Neon Tail does stand out from that and try and be its own thing. Is that
Yes.
fair to say?
Yeah, it's completely fair to say, given the amount of things that aren't about rollerblade and nor tagging, which are the two main things in Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So before we move on to more questions about the game, I wanted to ask, do you rollerblade in real life?
Yes, I do. I'm not a great roller skater, but I used to skate regularly twice a week in the streets of Paris because I was born and grew up in France. Over there's an event, an organized event where cops would go in front of a group and behind a group to stop the traffic, the car traffic, so people like us could have the whole streets for ourselves. Obviously, car drivers hates us, but that's awesome for us.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So what other games would you say have influenced Neon Tail?
It's hard to say from a creative point because I just like rollerblading and roller skating, and because I play a lot of game, ton of game. You probably know that I'm kind of a bit obsessed with video game creation because I do everything that touch video games. I'm capable of making video games all by myself because I do art, animation, coding, musics, and even production. And so at that point, the reference, I have many games that I could talk about, but I think visually and the big on the big view, I would say Persona 5 has a big influence for the UI. Borderlands maybe also. The modern Batman for the open world simplicity, I would say. Maybe Gravity Rush, maybe, because there's a nice feel to the city. It's not a dangerous city, at least at the half of the game. And I would like to try Breath of the Wild and Sunset Overdrive, which people have reported to. I think they seem to be good reference to Neontel. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of grinding and stuff in that game, isn't there? Like grinding on rails, things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
get where
grinding.
you're coming from. So you mentioned about creating games on your own, but Rocket Juice has a team of 3 people, is it?
Yes, we're a very tiny team.
Yeah. How would you say that those other people have helped you out with this game?
Well, one of them is a 3D artist. He's working on the environment, and the other is the main paper guy for everything that is paper related administrative for the company. And yeah, that's it.
You seem to have given a lot of thought to the roller skating physics in this game.
Yes.
How would you say you balance this between realism and fun?
Yeah, so realism, I would say that's a very vast subject. Realism in game, people often play game. If you push the realism far, people would play games that are very realistic because they are simulations. But I would say that simulations are fun if you have the time. If you're not stressed. I mean, you're rollerblading, so it's quite fast. You're not sit down on a on a deck and pushing buttons like for flight simulator or truck simulator. So I would say that the most fun from realism come from the physics. So games like Rocket League and Lunar Lander, for example, you learn how to play very quickly. The inputs are very simple, but the mastering the physics takes time, and that's what's fun about those games. And Neontel follows that kind of path. Also, that's another big difference with Jet Set Radio. Like on the gamepad, you use the triggers to go to skate forward and skate backward, and you use the left stick to set direction, and that makes the game very physics-based because based on your momentum and your speed, setting the direction will either skate, turn, drift, brake, or make you turn around, or you can even spin if you go fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main fun in the realism part of Neontel in the rollerblading section.
So you have an interesting mechanic, don't you, where to brake in Neon Tail, you actually have to turn as if, I guess that's how you would do it in real life, you know.
Yeah, I don't think any other game does that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a really good feature.
Thank you.
Will the music play a bigger role in the game besides being just simply a soundtrack? Because I noticed in an early video that you had, some things were like flashing in time.
Yes, I noticed that. That's awesome. Yeah, I took the time to write a code that will synchronize the music and the beat of the whole city. Like speakers or neons will glow at the rhythm of the music. And yeah, of course, to answer the question, the music will, of course, take a bigger role in the whole project. But usually, I make my own music for my projects. But this one is, I think, music that fits Neontel would have more female vocals, and I need to nitpick and take the time to choose the music. So for now, it's It's gonna take some time. That's what I want to say. And since the game is more an adventure than a score game like Jet Set Radio, the music will of course fit plots, cutscenes, and I will try to have a theme music for each character and key moments to make it more emotional, basically. So yeah.
Good stuff. You've mentioned that side activities are kind of a big thing in Neon Tail. How do you plan to make these activities more than just a checklist of things, you know, that are points on a map that you go to? Like, you know, how are you planning to make this sort of feel like it's all within the world kind of thing, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've played a couple of modern game that gets really boring. I get what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So first there would be the economic cycle to avoid getting bored in going through a checklist of points on the map. You need to have a meaning for the player to do those checklists. So coming back to the economic cycle, you do small jobs to earn money. You buy upgrades. You get cosmetics and things. There's a non-extensive, non-exhaustive list of jobs you can do in Neon Tail. For now, there's only package delivery, but I plan on going on many other things like public service repairing, saving animals, professional cosplaying, things that taking pictures. The engagement here would be about the player's economical growth and material, like costumes and outfits. Then there's the sport game. In Neon Tail, there's a sport game named SFS Pro, where that's what the main character is trying to become a superstar of. A licensed skater plays matches against each other to climb the ladder, and there's an arc, like anime. There's an arc with the sport, this tournament thing, and it's still a full story in itself. And there's a side option with that lets you unlock characters if they really like you, and you can play as them over time, but not play the main story, of course. But here, the focus of the engagement, the player's engagement, would be pride and competition, and probably a feeling of growth in a very selective community. Yeah, and finally, there's also the side stories, the NPCs, small stories. Yes, it's basically a checklist of points you go on the map, but the engagement here is totally narrative.
Yeah, so there's a reason for doing.
Yeah, hopefully it will be entertaining, and the players will get curious about what's going on with those NPCs. Yeah,
she always rubs against the microphone.
She's cute.
So, are you planning to make a level editor for the game, similar to maybe a recent thing we've seen in Session, which is a recent skateboarding game where players can sort of place their own items in the map? I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just asking, like, is there any sort of plans for something similar?
I would like to do that. Actually, it's doable. It's still doable, but maybe not the whole city having a player creating cities by themselves. But in the game, there's going to be an arcade center. Inside, there's going to be a virtual game in the game, skating game, where it's basically small levels that uses very simple blocks. In which case, I could create an editor for players to place those blocks and play those tidy levels for to have fun. But for now, it's not planned because there's a huge amount of work to do, and we're only 3 people. However, if the game gets some kind of success and we have the resources to do an editor, I would be very happy to do that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So how has being in early access changed the way that you've developed the game?
Yeah, again, we're extremely indie. We're 3 people working from home without salary, and we are full-time on that. And we're trying to create a game that will help us build our own company. So being in early access helps us in we don't have a budget to hire a team of QA testers. So on that part, having being on early access, people, of course, helps us a little bit financially. And also they will report bugs. And since there are our players, basically, so we are very quick to try to debug everything. And also it helps a lot because we cannot test the time that we would need to test the world would overtake the time it would need to make the game. So having players seeing bugs and reporting helps a lot on that side. Also, it helps growing a community. That's very important for us later on when for many reasons.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
What made you go with a Patreon page rather than a Kickstarter for this project?
Yeah. When we decided to go on Patreon, we had a very tiny community, under 20 people, and going on Kickstarter is quite a big deal at that point because it would take several months of works that wouldn't go into the game. Also, it's a huge risk because a huge probability of failing. While Patreon, on the other hand, you set it, you take the little amount of work that is needed for the Patreon. Of course, it depends on what you set up, but we can set it up, and if nobody helps, then we would still be doing Neon Tail. That's the main idea. However, if the community grows big enough, I think it would be a viable option, Kickstarter. But for now, we're focusing on making the game.
Okay, sure. And do you want to just plug some of the things that Patreons can expect to get if they support you on that?
Sure. Well, there are the obvious reward that are your name is in the game. You can if you can even shoot a huge rocket in the sky and have your name fireworks over the city. Other than that, you can also go on our Discord community and ask for you can ask for customized assets in the game, like outfits or accessories, or even mission side stories, like little side stories. Of course, we don't guarantee it will be in the game, not necessarily because the idea is not good, but more of course, yeah, there's that, but also maybe we don't have time nor the resources. No, there's a technical problem with that. So yeah. But Patreon have that power. We will consider their offers. Their you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
Of course. If anyone has any suggestions.
Yes, suggestion. Yeah. That's right.
Sure.
And try to put it in the game if we can. That's it.
Good stuff. Okay. Could you just give us a brief history of yourself? Because we kind of went straight into talking about the game, but I actually kind of wanted you to give a bit of background on yourself as a, maybe even if you wanted to say about your music or something like that, and the previous games you've worked on. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the video game industry for 14 years, something like that. I used to be a 3D artist. I worked at several companies, many companies. The biggest one being Ubisoft in France. And then after around 8 years, I think, I took a bet with myself because I wanted way more than just doing the 3D art that aren't even designed by myself. Because I'm a very creative person, and yeah, for me, video game is the perfect canvas because it includes everything. It has visual art, auditive art, stories, and interaction that no other platform has. So for someone very creative, that's awesome. And that's so yeah. I left my 3D artist work and started to learn how to code by making my own game from A to Z. And I also had a music band as a hobby, so I also made my own music at that point. And I made a small shoot them up called Sera the Space Pirate. It's a tiny project, but that's what I needed to learn how to code all the basics. And later on, I was in France back then, and I came back to Taiwan because I didn't see my dad for a long time, and a headhunter hired me, found me, and gave me a job, quite a good job as a producer in a small Taiwanese video game company. And here I honed my skills as a coder because I could hire my own team and make my own games. And after a while, the company closed for some unknown reason. I don't know why. And I just took the two partners I have now were part of my team back then, and we decided to make our own game. And now I'm doing everything on the Untel, and I made a couple of a small game too, but those weren't very well polished. And also we're still learning about the marketing and the publishing side of because game creation wise, I have no problem. I'm quite confident in my skill. I can do anything, but once you have the product, nowadays there's a game coming out there's 1,000 game coming out at a crazy rate. So having the product is half the job. Of course, it's what's taking the most time, but it's half the job. You have an awesome game, you have no marketing, no publishing skill behind. You cannot. You're throwing in the water. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So we're learning. We're trying what we can, and hopefully we will have a good future. Maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Let's try.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably a good place to end it. I hope that Neon Tail is very successful. Thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And once again, I'll click the end broadcast button and hope that this has all been recorded.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you. Bye-bye.